This is sim racer Igor Fraga, winning his first ever Gran Turismo Nations Cup in 2018. In the last year, he's become the first sim racer to join the Formula 3 grid, a series which is seen by many as the path to Formula 1, the pinnacle of motorsport. And he's earned himself a place in the Red Bull Junior program, the same program that created motorsport stars like Max Verstappen and four-time Formula 1 champion Sebastian Vettel.
Do you ever think that sim racing could replace karting as a way into motorsport?
Well, it's hard. I mean, I've come across a lot of good sim drivers.
It's racers like Igor who are transferring their success from the virtual world to the real one that's got people like me asking, can sim racing create future motorsport champions?
Sim racing, although it may seem relatively new, has actually been around for decades. It was computer games like Indianapolis 500, released in 1989, that took the very first step from being just an arcade game for fun, and instead attempted to simulate realistic physics and telemetry, and allowed the user to change things like their fuel strategy and car setup. Today, simulated racing is anything but a game. Racers spend thousands on complex simulator setups that take the art of driving to a much more precise and in-depth level. They're designed to accurately replicate the same variables like tyre grip, aerodynamics, brake bias, and much more that you'd experience on a track in the real world.
Take this Fanatec steering wheel as an example. Inside, it's got a motor that provides detailed but very strong force feedback. As I'm going round these corners, I can actually feel the wheel fighting against me as I turn in. And it's that kind of feedback that helps my brain to work out the limit of the grip levels around each corner. Whoa, I just about made that one.
It's not just the hardware though. The software has come a long way too. It's so advanced now that circuits are accurate up to 1 centimetre thanks to laser scanning. They're full of thousands of variables that the user can adjust to tweak their car setup or practice in certain conditions. It's the advancement of all this technology that has resulted in sim racing being the most realistic and accurate driving experience you can get without actually being sat in a car. One man who spent a lot of time in his sim rig during the recent pandemic, where there was no physical racing, was Red Bull F1 driver Max Verstappen.
I was spending a lot of time in the simulator. I even competed, of course, in a championship. All the things together, you know, you do pit stops, you do like endurance kind of races, so overtaking, getting overtaken, dealing with traffic, fuel calculations, you know, you have to save fuel, all these kind of things, what you also do in real life.
But if it's so realistic, can it actually make you a better driver? I think I know someone who can help answer that.
Of course, the sim racing was not so evolved as it is now, but my father wanted to put me in a go-karting. It was a great way to just start it and learn the basic controls such as throttle, braking and steering wheel input. Some basic racing line stuff as well. Nowadays, the physics of the game has been improved a lot. It's really close to what we do on the real life. Like the trend, if you tend to brake a bit earlier or if you tend to carry a bit more speed into the corner when you arrive to the real track, this trend tends to be exactly the same.
Today's simulators are so detailed that racers like Igor are able to successfully use them to prepare for real races. They're vital, especially when time on track is not just limited, but extremely costly too at all levels of the sport. In the past, if you wanted to become a professional racing driver, it meant starting with karting at a young age and working your way up through the various levels. But the cost of running a kart, regular track time, and travelling to weekly race meetings is hugely expensive. Progressing to a professional level was something only a lucky few could afford to do.
It would be probably like 1,000 for a day in karting, like a proper one. If you go to F3 level, it will cost more than 10,000. It's very expensive, like per day. And on the sim racing, you can basically buy a really good wheel around $1,000 and you can use for, I don't know, 2 years straight away, you know, without changing anything.
Igor's right. Sim racing has made motorsport accessible to those who might not have been able to afford that traditional route. With its realness and accuracy, a racing simulator is still able to teach the same fundamentals that karting does. It just costs a lot less when you crash. It hurts less too.
All those little details counts a lot, so you know those things in the simulator like really helps you to prepare and be ready at the right timing. In the simulator you can race as much as you want basically.
It isn't just about what goes on behind the wheel either. A racing driver needs to fully understand every aspect of the car setup, and today's simulators allow you to change just about any variable.
I'm in F1 2020 right now, and I can adjust things like fuel load, aerodynamics, transmission, suspension geometry, suspension, brakes, tyres. There's so much here that you can tweak for your car setup. And when you go to software like iRacing or rFactor 2, you get even more granular settings that you can change and adjust to make your car setup just right.
Having all these variables allows the driver to test different setups, experience changing weather conditions, and become more confident in what the car will do in various situations. It's the perfect learning tool. It's the reason why racers like Igor use it to refine their skills, but also why current Formula 1 drivers use simulators too.
Max, you have your sim rig at home, so you know how detailed they are. You also are one of the people that did go that traditional route into motorsport through karting and up through the various series. Do you ever think that sim racing could replace karting as a way into motorsport?
Well, it's hard. I mean, I've come across a lot of good sim drivers, and I mean, still every day also within my own sim team, a lot of good guys. You know, it's incredible how fast they are. The problem is I don't doubt that they, you know, they're very precise. They know exactly what they're doing. They know how to go quick, but in real life, you know, the speed sensation and then the G-forces and, you know, just the general force already hitting a brake pedal is different. I know you can train, you can get fit, but you miss that real life experience. Going through a corner with 250 or whatever in what car you're driving, or 300, close to a wall, or, you know, close to when you make a mistake and you can hit the wall, instead of doing it in a simulator where you can press restart and go again. That mindset, you know, from when you are very little and then you grow up through it, is very different between a real driver and a sim driver. You need to drive a lot more in real life to overcome that little kind of, it's not fear, I think, but it's a bit of trust in the car as well. So I do think that, you know, if you give a sim driver a lot of track time as well, I think, yeah, they can get very competitive, but you need to give them the opportunity to be able to do that. And that, again, costs a lot of money. I would say a real driver, they can benefit by also using the sim to become even better.
So maybe we're not quite at that point yet where someone could go from sim seat to F1 seat. But what I have learned from speaking to Igor and Max is that sim racing and real racing complement each other, and drivers benefit the most when they use both.
I don't think it will ever beat, let's say, real, like, on-track driving. And I think it shouldn't. It's nice that sometimes, you know, you can overlap stuff. So also now in the sim world, you know, they're hosting like championships where a real driver joins a sim driver, and I'm going to participate in that. And I think that's a lot of fun. As a real driver, you know, you really get pushed by the sim drivers, and they make you a better driver on the simulator, so that's good.
In the future, could we see someone who started with sim racing become a Formula 1 world champion?
Never say never. I mean, it's hard, but if he has the right guidance and like I said, you know, enough track time in a real car, who knows?
Who knows indeed. I genuinely want to hear what you have to think on this. You watching this right now. Get in the comments below, let me know if you agree with me and my thoughts that sim racing does have its part to play in the generation of future motorsport talent. Let me know if you think I'm wrong as well in the comments. I'll be replying and reading as many as possible. And also, if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching.